Hi friends, and welcome back to Playing Tribute to Apollo Justice, Ace Attorney, where we are in the shoes of Phoenix Wright once again. We talked to Gumshoe, it was great. Good old-fashioned 7 years ago, back to the simpler days. But not so simple. We are in the middle of a trial, and we are hoping to talk to our client, because, as usual, talking to the client is the most difficult part of this game, apparently. So, that's happening. Very impressive, Mr. Wright. I have to say, I expected nothing less. We've only just begun. I was hoping you could tell me a bit more about what happened, actually. I did not think you would believe me if I told you. Better that you discover the truth for yourself. I was thinking of you. I think we need less thinking and more talking. That night in the hospital, what really happened? The way your eyes gleam, Mr. Wright. You're scared yourself. Speaking of which, where is she? You have seen the problem yourself. The letter. The one shot in the forehead? One, right? Yes. And the reason he speaks of. I cannot deny my mentor's wishes, even if it meant my own death. Why not? It's something I will not say. For now, at least. What's this for now business? I've done many things in my life, some well, some poorly. But this is a cross we must bear alone to our graves. We? You want to know about the night of the incident. Finally, this guy sure likes to take his time getting to the important stuff. Of course, I had no intention of shooting my mentor. He snuck into his room that night at the appointed time. Found there upon his bedside table 2 pistols. Ah. 2. 2. Yes. The one I had used on stage. And the one that had been used by my partner, Valent. Oh, for the Zack and Valent's quick draw thing. My mentor had the look of one sleeping. Stood by his bedside, hearing only the light sound of his breathing. Then I took the pistol into my hand. I cannot deny that my resolve faltered then, for a moment. You faltered? You mean you thought about shooting him? Recall there was a reason I could not refuse his request. His last such request, though not his first. So there were other requests you couldn't refuse before? To be honest, I've not always been steadfast, and I fear I've brought pain upon Juicy. Was Magnifique coercing his disciples somehow? Just what was going on in True Grammar? Yes, in the end, I did not shoot him. Instead, I turned and shot the clown. Took the pistol I'd fired and placed it in my pocket. In your pocket. I believe if you examine the bullet in the clown's head, you will find it to be different than the one my mentor. What were those called? Oh, what were those called? Rifling marks. Yes, well, that is all I have to tell you concerning the case. Concerning the case? You mean there's something else you can tell me? You are a fascinating man, Mr. Wright. Thanks? Yes, there is something. My mentor, his eyes opened. What? Magnifique Grammar. The old devil. He was not asleep, you see. Of course, the gunshot would have woken him anyway. And there we had our last discussion as mentor and pupil. It was not a long discussion, 5-10 minutes or so. What did you talk about? Ha! Mr. Wright. Did I not just tell you? It does not concern this case. That Grammar seems pretty steadfast to me. Or maybe just stubborn. Mr. Wright, your presence is requested in the courtroom. Once again, I am in your hands. Right, let's get back in there. Court is now back in session. During our recess, a bullet was found and dug out from the clown's head. Well, this is news. In the rifling marks? There wasn't time to do a detailed analysis. Though they did find the weapon type matches the murder weapon. Well, that's not very conclusive, is it? why I'm about to call my very decisive witness. Your decisive witness? How many times have I heard those words? Though they often turn out to be far less decisive than you think. Oh, don't worry on my account. I'm quite confident this witness will do the job. After all, he is intimately acquainted with the players in our little production, being the other half of the troupe Grammarai's famous duo, Zack and Valent. Valent Grammarai? So we get to meet the great Magnifie's other disciple. Young Valent! Perhaps we'll start by asking your name and occupation. Valent Grammarai, magician. And you're the decisive witness, are you? You can prove your fellow student, your partner's guilt. Fate, the grand illusion, filled with traps and tricks. Wait, the shooting took place in that hospital after 11 o'clock at night. If you're a witness, does that mean you were there that late? If one were to deduce this logically, the conclusion is yes. Okay, I have some characters, don't I? That's what I love about this game, Phoenix, sorry. I have an interesting fact for you. You see, several days before the crime, my witness received this. It looks very familiar. Wait. That's the same letter Zack Grammarai received. Yes, or perhaps I should say, ta-da! Look at his hair. Order, order, order. And what does it say? Surely not the same thing. Perhaps you should see for yourself. Oh, it's practically the same. It really is, except for the time. The court accepts this into evidence. This is messing true. Exactly what was going on with you folks? What exactly was your troupe Grammarai up to? By what you mean? I'm just having trouble envisioning a man who would ask his students to kill him. Both of them, no less. It's just my opinion, Herr Judge. But from these letters, I'd say he was coercing them, not asking. We walked the magician's path together, and in so doing, shared much of our lives. When people are so close, there is a strain, a warping of relations, you might say. Yet, this has nothing to do with the case at hand. By which you mean you're not going to tell us. Which makes me wonder even more about this reason they couldn't refuse. Well, let's get on with the testimony for starters. The defendant, Zack Grammarai, stands accused. Tell us why. Oh, I'll do more than that. For where he walks, the red roses rise, singing hymns to the miracle that is magic. Fascinating. Though I hardly need to remind you that the evidence could just as clearly point to you as the suspect. The letter, the murder weapon, and now the 2 bullets found at the scene. In fact, the only difference seems to be the designated time. As every magician knows, timing is everything. Yes. And now it's time to get this party fired up. That night, I visited the hospital room at the time Magnifie requested. The smell of gunpowder hung in the room, and my mentor had taken his final bow. I did not imagine my fellow student might have received the same instructions. But to deal with the dead is still a deal. That sweet kiss, I gave it to the clown. Then I informed the doctor and the police. So you were the one who reported the crime. Indeed. I would think this fact alone would clear my name of suspicion. Let's not jump to any conclusions. Yes, the cross-examination generally comes before the conclusions in this court. But if your testimony proves to be true, then the defendant, Zack Grammarai, is guilty. And if it wasn't Zack Grammarai, then the killer was you, Valent. And no disappearing act will get you out of that. Let's press everything for now. Which, according to the letter, was 11:20 p.m. Indeed. In magic, timing is everything. Right. Consider the illusion of teleportation. If I were to appear on stage before my stunt double has left, how would that look? Why, it would reveal the very secrets of my magic. Now that you've revealed the very secrets of your magic for all of us, let's move on. You entered the designated time, and what did you see? So you weren't worried for your own safety at all? I mean, you smelled gunpowder, yes? What if the shooter was still nearby? I did not consider this, to be honest. It is forbidden for a magician to have a good imagination. Really? Isn't magic all about illusions and imagination? How about this? You were the shooter, which is why you weren't afraid. Now you are the one imagining. It is forbidden for a lawyer to have a good imagination. The witness will refrain from pausing so suspiciously before responding. I mean, my forbidden imagination is starting to imagine things. I loved that exchange. Which brings us back to this reason neither of you could refuse. So does, and my partner, he did not refuse. But Magnifi wrote the same thing to you. Why could you refuse if Zack couldn't? Because I have a will of steel, of course. I also do this trick where I bend steel bars, so perhaps steel isn't also strong. So which is it? Mind if I continue? There were 2 bullet holes at the scene, one in the victim and one in the clown. You're saying the one who shot the clown was you. No doubt my partner Zack has said much the same thing. Yeah, because whoever didn't shoot the clown committed murder. I better dig around here a bit more and see what I can turn out. Mr. Valent, let me ask about something else concerning the crime scene. Namely, the number of pistols. How many pistols were there when you entered the room? By which you mean what, precisely? 2 pistols were used in the Zack and Valent crick thrall shoot 'em, correct? 1 for each of you? You are well informed. Yet, only one of my old friends out at the hospital room that night. What did Zack tell me back in the lobby? He had no intention of shooting his mentor, snuck into the room, and saw 2 pistols. He took the pistol he had fired and placed it in his pocket. I see no problem with that statement. Only 1 pistol was visible in the photograph of the crime scene after all. So you picked up that pistol and fired it? Indeed I did. Alakazam. Alakazing. Alakaboo. If the number of pistols really so important. I don't think so, but we'll see. What can I do but obey? Is the problem the fact that there were still 2 bullets? I don't have the evidence, though. So you took the only pistol there and fired it? That's correct. And that pistol was this one, which is left at the crime scene. Good show. See, you too are a magician of sorts. And you're an idiot of sorts. Do you have any idea what you just said? I see the fire in your eyes as you glare at the witness. So how about heating up this trial a bit? Those slow ballots bore me. I've got a hunch, but maybe that's all it is. Maybe I should ask about something else. He just said that the one that he shot was left at the scene, and this is the one that was found, the bullet was found in the victim. In order to shoot a pistol, you need a bullet. Where was the bullet? I entered the room, and I took the pistol in my hand. The bullet was already loaded, ready to fire at any time. A magician is always prepared, you see. Prepared for... One never knows when a miracle will be accomplished. A magician always has several doves in his pockets. 7 doves in his pocket, and a white rabbit up each sleeve. Clearly we're dealing with professionals here. Is this bullet that was loaded in the pistol really so important? Probably? Unless it was the gun again. If the pistol was already loaded, something doesn't make sense. Why weren't the victim's fingerprints on it? You should know that we of the true Grammari are capable of many things. One of these being the levitation of iron balls, without touching them. There's no magic involved here. The shooter was just methodical, that's all. He simply wiped everything off fingerprints. Can't really do much with fingerprints that weren't there. You should ask about something else. Okay, I think I have to do this. Because he said it. He has claimed to take the pistol that was there.
Objection!
Yeah. According to the defendant, Zach Ramurai, when he entered the room, there were 2 pistols on that table. 2. One of those pistols he used to shoot the clown in the forehead. Then he left with it in his pocket. Of course, this is what he would say. Unlike the hapless clown, we must assume our defendant has some brains in his head. Well, what about what Mr. Valent has told us? You see, there's something about his testimony that doesn't make sense. What might that be? I told you, I took the pistol that was there and shot the clown. That's your story, at least. But the rifling marks tell a very different story. Mr. Valent, recall what Prosecutor Gavin told us. He compared a bullet taken from the victim's skull with a bullet fired from this gun. Rifling marks on the bullets were a perfect match. Ah! Mr. Valent, if you fired this pistol, then you shot the victim in the forehead. Order, order, order! Oh, well, this is all rather sudden.
Objection!
What have I done? Prosecutor Gavin, I owe the court an apology. Sorry. Sorry for what? You see, I was unaware that 2 of these unique pistols were crafted. The analysis of the rifling marks only proved the type of gun that fired.
Objection!
But that's not what you told us before. You said you'd verified the murder weapon. Which is why I'm apologizing to you now, quite sincerely, I might add. Would you hold me accountable for a mistake made in my youth? It was 10 minutes ago. That was just this morning. Speaking of youth, I was reminded of, 17. I was still young. And I might add, it wasn't really my fault. If the defendant had only admitted he took 1 pistol from the scene of the crime, we would not be having this pleasant discussion now. Oh, you jerk. Valent Ramurai. Yes, Your Honor. You presented to the court as a decisive witness, but you've proven to be more decisive than decisive.
Objection!
You'll see, in time. The testimony so far has merely been a review of the facts. The proof comes next. Care to elaborate, Prosecutor Gavin? When Mr. Valent entered the hospital room, the victim had already been shot, and his next testimony will prove, Herr Wright, that the real fight is about to begin. Bring it. Very well, the witness will now testify to the court. Help us determine who shot what. Who shot what now? I arrived in the hospital room at the appointed time, which is to say 11:20 p.m. After discovering the body, I fulfilled my obligation, then called the doctor. The doctor examined the body before the police arrived. He was quite clear about the time of death, 11:10 p.m. And the one in the room at that time was my partner, not me. Interesting. Those times are rather close, so you have to admit you're talking about an alibi established over a matter of minutes. To use a 10-minute discrepancy as the basis of your alibi. It's easy to explain in this situation, Herr Judge. For example, take our debut hit single, 13 Years Hard Time for Love. Cue to the song, press the play button, and it will play for 2 minutes, 15 seconds. Do it 100 times, the result is the same. Their debut single was only 2 minutes and 15 seconds long. What a ripoff. Magic is the world of utmost precision. Hocus pocus requires admirable focus. And in the time of death, determined by the doctor, there is an incontrovertible truth. Very well, the prosecution warns us that we're dealing with a rather precise time, and we can expect the cross-examination to require the same level of precision. I would hope the defense refrains from its customarily broad, sweeping accusations, lest we blur the focus of the case this case so clearly demands. Point taken. Baseless remarks will result in a penalty. Carry on, Mr. Wright. Carry on, right. Are they warning me not to press things? again? I hate when they do this. How did you know that? How did the doctor know the time of death? I don't think I'm stepping out on a limb to say I have some doubts about this. How could the doctor be so precise at the time? Which usually only an estimated time of death through. I'm not sure I've heard of a verified time of death. Magic revels in making the complex appear simple, but reality is the opposite. What appears complex, in this case, a simple matter of subtraction. This person has done their arithmetic homework. The point here is the IV the victim was taking. It's quite visible in the photograph of the scene. Recall what we heard earlier about the victim, Magnifique Ramrai schedule. Every night at 11, Magnifique took an IV drip for 30 minutes. I can see the IV bag right there, yes. Now look a little closer. Follow the tube down from the bag to the end. Okay. The needle's been removed. Doubtlessly, it fell out when he was shot. That would seem to be the case. When the needle comes out, the IV no longer drips. You could just measure for the remaining IV liquid. Precisely. The IV liquid functions for our purposes as an hourglass of sorts. This is how the doctor determined the time of death. From the amount remaining in the bag, it was determined that the IV had stopped 10 minutes after administration had begun. And so it was when I, Valent, entered that room. 10 minutes had passed since the horrible crime was committed. And this is proof. Oh, Mr. Wright? Does that seem important? Yeah. Well, seeing how it is the biggest clue we have for the time of death, I'd say it's very important. Agreed. It would be hard to imagine a more precise way to determine the time. Behold the power of arithmetic. Very well. The witness will add this detail to his testimony. Sometimes the most magical thing of all is the truth. There's something to be done about this. There's also the fact that this is weird. Did you notice the IV yourself by any chance? When first I entered that room, the stench of gunpowder assailed me. Next, the mark of death upon my mentor's forehead. And then his left arm did. I spy a rose, drooping and wilted. Drooping and wilted. Its thorn, the discarded IV did. Knocked from the vein by the force of the shot. Luckily for you. If that IV had not been there, why, you might be a suspect. Indubitably so. I might say it's thanks to my lucky color. Your lucky color? Indeed. Even today I wear it proudly upon my suspect self. For it always, without fail, brings me luck. Why, when Zack and Valent won their first Magician's Grand Prix? Yes, the very one held by the Association of International Magicians. I was adorned in this dyer then, too. And our trophy? A bust. Ah, what a day it was. There's a one trip down memory lane no one needs. My lucky color, yes indeed. And that IV, too. I say, I think it was hued especially for me, Valent. That does seem to be the case, indeed. Well, Mr. Wright, any thoughts on this testimony? Valent sure looks happy with himself. Okay, how about this lucky color testimony? You got a problem there, Valent. Certainly sounds like your lucky colors brought you plenty of luck. But not this time. Mr. Valent, your lucky colors betrayed you. I'm afraid you've lost them. Your Honor, the witness's testimony just now clearly contradicts the evidence. What? Please recall my warning at the beginning of this cross-examination, Mr. Wright. Baseless accusations will be duly penalized. I do hope this latest accusation is well-based. Don't worry. I've got all your bases right here. Very well, let's hear the defense's claim. Where is your evidence that contradicts what Mr. Valent has told us? Apologies to anyone who's colorblind. The crime scene tells all, Your Honor. Photo of the crime scene. All this talk of color has me yearning for black and white, clear-cut simplicity. Tell us, Herr Wright, just where's the contradiction in this photo? My pleasure, and I assure you, it's quite simple. But I can't promise anything in black and white. Let's hear what Mr. Wright has to say. What about instead of black and white, we deal with green and yellow?
Take that!
Valent Grammari, let's get one thing straight about your lucky color. It's yellow, yes. Kinda takes the mystery out of it, but yes. Something wrong with yellow, Mr. Wright. Yes, there is. Decisively wrong, in fact. Take another look at the photo of the crime scene. What's this? Confusion, doubt. Tell us, what does your elderly eyes spy? Even my elderly eyes can see a problem here, Mr. Valent. Look at that IV bag. What is this? What foul magic? It would be hard to call an IV liquid yellow. And I'm afraid no magic was involved in the taking of this photograph. Right, 2 rabbits up the sleeve and 7 doves. Order, order, order! What does this mean?
Objection!
This is some kind of mistake. Yes, Prosecutor Gavin, your witness's mistake. The greener they are, the harder they fall. I suppose there's no substitute for experience. Valent Grammari, as you reminded us several times, your lucky color is yellow, but the IV is clearly not. Well, this contradiction can mean only one thing.
Objection!
And to think, you almost had me. I see your true colors now, Ace Attorney Phoenix Wright. Something you'd like to tell us, Prosecutor Gavin? As far as the court can tell, the witness's testimony does contradict the evidence. Yes, a contradiction. One that I shall be pleased to hand right back to Mr. Wright. How do you mean? How? Because the witness has made no mistakes. I agree at a glance. The IV liquid does appear sort of greenish yellow. But I assure you the liquid itself is quite yellow. Yellow liquid? How can you say that? As far as I can tell from this photo, it's green. Oh, that was the judge again, sorry. Yes, but what color is the IV bag itself? The bag? You mean the plastic bag on the hook? It looks like I want to say light blue. Precisely. Figured it out yet? Put a yellow liquid in a blue bag and you get green. This, incidentally, is the liquid's true color. I see. Your explanation does have a ring of truth to it.
Objection!
As I thought. There's no substitute for experience, Prosecutor Gavin. What? You may tell a good tale, but you've just proven something rather grave. For you, that is. Grave. The liquid in the IV is yellow, yes. But how did this witness know that? It's quite unnatural when you think about it. You did think about it, didn't you? Your Honor, the defense requests an explanation from the witness. At the scene of the crime, the IV liquid appears to be green. So let me ask, how did the witness know the IV liquid was actually yellow? Alakazoo! The old-fashioned pursuit theme. Order, order, order! Mr. Wright, you will explain this at once. The witness clearly knew the color of the IV liquid, so I'm sure it means something, but what? I can think of only one possibility, Your Honor. The witness, Valent Grammari, has testified that the IV liquid was yellow. I know what's coming of this, not because I remember the case, but because I'm actually following it for once. I think he'd seen it before is my way. From the facts before us, the answer is clear. The witness knew that the IV liquid was yellow. Why? Because he'd seen it before. But not inside the blue bag we see in this photo. He saw the liquid by itself, in the clear color of his bag. I suppose he would have had to, but I'm still not clear as to what all this means. Ask yourself, why would he know if he didn't work at the hospital? That's where you'll find your meaning, Your Honor.
Objection!
I'm afraid I find nothing, so what if you knew the IV liquid's color? Leave it the getting excited over absolutely nothing to our teeny bopper fans, yeah?
Objection!
The IV liquid is the only evidence proving the time of death. A 30-minute hourglass with 20 minutes worth of sand remaining. Your claim, Prosecutor Gavin. If I remember it well. However, there's a critical difference between an hourglass and an IV bag. Wait, I know. An hourglass uses sand, but an IV bag uses liquid. I'm right, right? As much as it pains me to say this, Your Honor, no. Unlike the sand through an hourglass, IV liquid enters the patient's body. At which point, like magic, it disappears. However, what if the amount of IV liquid has increased? You couldn't tell, could you? After all, there's no way of knowing how much went in.
Objection!
Let me get this straight, Hair Right. You're saying the witness watered down the victim's IV bag? Not with water, but with IV liquid. That's how you knew the IV liquid was yellow. No, wait, I said wait! How might an amateur such as myself essay to perform such a task? I'm an amateur too, but I can pour water into a cup.
Objection!
I'm afraid there's quite a big difference between a cup and an IV bag. Quite. Can you prove our witness is capable of such a feat? He has a point, amateurs. I, at least, would have some difficulty pouring IV liquid into that bag. You don't need to be an expert to see the look on the witness's face. He added liquid to that IV to throw off the time of death. I tire of these fairy tales lacking evidence. Mr. Wright, any solid evidence to bring us back down to earth? Valiant Grammari, I'm afraid your magic won't serve you well in the life of crime. Might I ask what you're strongly suggesting? Magic relies on props, and props become evidence. Our witness was certainly able to increase the amount of IV liquid in the bag. All he had to do was work a little magic. And the prop?
Take that!
The victim's syringe. It's the perfect prop for the magically increasing IV trick. And easy enough for an amateur to use.
Objection!
What kind of evidence is that? The syringe was clean, not a trace of liquid in it.
Objection!
And don't you find that odd, Prosecutor Gavin? What? The victim had the syringe to administer his insulin shots. There should have been traces of insulin left inside. Well, Valiant Grammari. As you pointed out yourself, the IV liquid makes them perfect luck. One that you could manipulate at will. Alakazam! First, that the burden of this trial has been a bit too much to bear for Prosecutor Gavin. I'm afraid that, while there is doubt as to the amount of IV liquid in the bag, the time of death cannot be proven. And that brings the trial to a close for today. Oh, maybe I can squeeze an extra day out of this. Do a little much-needed investigation work. See, there are no objections. Court is adjourned.
Objection!
There's a song. I was wondering when the rock music would begin. Truly, there's no substitute for experience. Nothing blinds one to the truth so effectively. A word to the wise. Underestimate the young, and they'll sweep your feet from out from under you. In a way you never, ever expected. You see, I know exactly what you're thinking. What's he talking about? You see, the witness used the syringe to manipulate the level of IV liquid. But there's no proof. There's no proof he didn't do it either. Yes, quite true. admitting it. Nor was this witness quite as decisive as I'd hoped. This I admit. After all, why linger in the past when the future holds so much? I have something in mind, Prosecutor Gavin. Proof, Herr Judge. I have another way to prove my case. With evidence, no less. What's this? This is the victim Magnifique Gramarai's diary. Diary? After going to the hospital, Magnifique began writing his memoirs, it seems. The story of his birth, his start of debut, and of meeting his disciples. It seems he intended for the last chapter to end, quite appropriately, with his death. Wait, that book doesn't say what the reason was, does it? The reason why his disciples couldn't refuse his last request? Sadly, it does not. What's important here is on the last page. Apparently, the victim wrote in his journal that night. Even after the IV had begun at 11 p.m. Let's read it, shall we? Tonight's IV is in. Maybe the last, or the rest of them. The first should come soon. This journal may be here, or may go on. It may end here, or it may go on, but not long. That depends on his hand. All that is left tonight is already... I can't read past the words here. It just does appear to have been written just before his death. All that is left of mine is to lay down his pen. The court accepts his attendance. Oh, or I can just look at it now. Read the very last part of the particular here. This is the last page. The diary ends here. What's this? Looks like the page was ripped out. Well, now isn't that interesting? This journal may end here or may go on, but not long. That depends on his hand. Of course, by his, he refers to our defendant, Zach Gramarye. Makes sense. He was the first scheduled visitor, after all. But look at what he said before that. This journal may end here or it may go on. It may go on. Magnifique Gramarye intended to write again. That is, if Zach Gramarye didn't pull the trigger. You can see the defense understands the meaning of this. The victim's diary does not go on. It ends. You do realize there's a page ripped out, right? Because Magnifique's life was brought to an end by the defendant Zach Gramarye. Very inconveniently. Order, order, order. Prosecutor Gavin. Are you certain that Magnifique Gramarye wrote this? There's no mistaking his handwriting. Well, this does seem to be significant. According to this, Magnifique did intend to continue his diary. Yet his diary ended here, which plainly it did. Then the one who pulled the trigger was the first visitor, Zach Gramarye. Well, how do you like me now, Herr Wright? Still too green for your tastes? He's right about the diary being pretty clear. Still, I find it hard to believe that he'd overlook such an obvious problem with this professor's evidence. Well, Mr. Wright, this testimony we heard was lacking. But put together with this evidence, it seems quite sufficient for a case. If the diary is accepted like this, the trial's over. Maybe it's time for me to show them something. It hurts to press these buttons, knowing what's happening. I'm left with no choice but to show my own evidence. What? You have some evidence that overturns this diary? It's not too late to rethink this and avoid more embarrassment. It's wrong too, but okay. Very well, please show us your evidence, Mr. Wright. Incidentally, don't even think of showing us this diary I've just shown the court. Oh, so this is them saying, don't show the diary as, hey, there's a torn page. I have to show the other thing. I think it's to avoid players who see what's coming because, you know, the rest of the game happened. Now that we've come this far, I hope you have something a little more decisive. Shows evidence that proves the victims continued writing this diary. Alright, I'd be happy to. The decisive evidence proving that the diary didn't end with this page. Oh, Felix Wright, I'm so sorry.
Take that!
First, take a close look at this diary. that I'm not allowed to show you. Note that a page has clearly been ripped out. What's this? I hadn't noticed that at all. That's why we're still here talking about this. And it just so happens, I have here what I believe to be the missing page. Alika, I don't believe it. Looking at this page, it's hard to imagine that the first visitor that night shot Magnifique Grammari. That's the defense's position. Oh, wait, let me see that. What in Sam Hill? Why, this is the continuation of the victim's diary. Note the torn edge of the page. It's a perfect match with the torn remains of the last page in Magnifique's diary. Quite remarkable. Would you care to explain what all this means, Herr Attorney? The diary continued after his first visitor came, which means that the victim was still alive after Zach Grammari left, leaving no one to take his life but the second visitor. Valent Grammari. No! Handwriting, too, matches the one on the other pages. That is without a doubt the genuine article. Order! But wait, that's impossible. That old man couldn't have written that.
Objection!
Finally. You just couldn't resist, could you, Herr Wright? Resist what? Presenting solid evidence? Herr Judge. Yes, Prosecutor Gavin. Might I request we put the current cross-examination on hold? The prosecution would like to call a new witness. But Prosecutor Gavin, if this evidence overturns the current witnesses, I ask only to put it on hold. Please, my new witness has a very, very important piece of testimony to give. 5 minutes, no more. I promise, Your Honor. Well, if you put it that way. Mr. Wright, what's your take on this? Well, Your Honor, judging from his enthusiasm, you'll have to hear this new testimony sooner or later anyway. So it might as well be sooner. Then, though this is highly, highly irregular, we will put the current cross-examination on hold. The witness may step down. Now, Prosecutor Gavin, please bring this surprise witness to the courtroom. I had a bad feeling just then. That ripped-out page was too obvious. He must have known. And I should have known it was a bad sign all around. Holding trial with no audience is a first, even for me, Prosecutor Gavin. I beg the court's understanding. But I had to make a judiciary deal with the witness to secure his testimony. A judiciary deal? The details of his testimony may have some legal ramifications, so say. I thought it best to contain the information to this room. Very well. And you are the witness, I gather? Yes, sir. State your name and occupation for the record. My name is Drew Misham. I'm a painter. A painter? And you are somehow related to this case? No, well, not per se. I have one simple question for this witness. Mr. Misham, was it? Do you know what this is? Oh, yeah, I know it well. How's that possible? Have you seen this diary page somewhere before? Oh, yeah, I made it. You... what? You made it? Yes. You might call it one of my works. The regional prosecutor's office received a tip-off yesterday. Illegal evidence has been prepared for the trial of Zach Grammari. Illegal evidence? I initiated an investigation and found this witness. That painter to the world at large, Drew Measham has another side, you might say. He is skilled in making perfect reproductions of certain things. Forgeries, in other words. Forgeries? Oh, well, so we are to understand that this page here is a fake, prepared by a certain defense attorney.
Objection!
Hold it! I didn't prepare this evidence.
Objection!
The attorney speaks. Something about this page, I presume, but what is he saying? It makes no sense. After all, it was you who presented this evidence to us, Phoenix Wright. Witness, Mr. Measham, was it? Who requested this forgery? Who was your client? That... I don't know. What? Most of my clients prefer to remain anonymous, even to me. I make the items they want and receive my payment. That's the extent of my contact with them.
Objection!
But there's no proof this is a fake. It's a fake. Huh. To avoid just this sort of problem, I always put a special mark on my works. I can say without a doubt, this is mine. Mr. Wright, you have just presented legal evidence to this court. My court. He was careless of me. That's all I can say. Oh boy! Here. What's this? I don't know. I just got it over there in the hall. He told me to give it to the old boy in the blue suit with the spiky hair. They said it was really important. It was all a trap. A fatal trap. Mr. Wright. Yes? Do you have an explanation for yourself? If I did, would the court hear it? Probably not. Forging evidence is a serious crime. And presenting it in court is a serious mistake. A fatal mistake for an attorney. Fatal, too, perhaps, for your client, I fear. Tell me, what kind of defendant relies on forged evidence? The answer is quite clear. A guilty one.
Objection!
Your Honor, wait. I understand that presenting forged evidence in court is a serious crime, but you cannot hold my client responsible for actions I undertook as an individual. True to the end, Phoenix Wright. I'm sorry, Mr. Wright. Your Honor, another close call, I dare say. If the prosecutor's office hadn't received that hot tip, everything would have gone the way you wanted it to, yeah? I even gave you a chance. Too bad you decided not to think before embarrassing yourself. I see no need for further discussion on the matter. Special witness dismissed. Mr. Attorney. Yes. Could I ask your name? Phoenix Wright. Mr. Wright. I have seen and studied many people, but none like you. I remember you, Mr. Wright. Though I deeply regret having to declare a verdict in this way, this trial is over. You have the right to find a new attorney and make an appeal. However, this court must... Your Honor. Yes, Mr. Zuck. There is one thing I wish to make clear. Today, in this courtroom, you cannot declare me guilty. It is impossible. I'm afraid the defendant is quite mistaken. I most certainly have the authority to declare a verdict on you. Except, tell me, how do you plan on announcing your verdict? When your defendant does not exist. Doesn't exist? What are you talking about? I'm talking about this. Mr. Nigmar! The defendant's escaped. Find him, quick. Bailiff, close all exits from the building. On the double, he must not be allowed to escape. That day, in that courtroom, a miracle occurred. The defendant, Shady Enigmar, aka Zach Gramerai, did not just escape from court. He literally, unbelievably, vanished. Right before the bailiff's eyes. No one ever saw him again. Not since that day. This is the Gramerai miracle. No verdict was declared. After all, the defendant didn't exist. That's how it happened. The trial of magician Zach Gramerai vanished along with him for all eternity. The mysteries that remained behind were all solved, however. But not until 7 years later. Yeah. That's the truth of things. That's what happened to Phoenix Wright. So, no, he did not forge evidence purposely. That first trial that we went through, notwithstanding, because he definitely forged that. Or something. Or got it somehow. But, yeah. True to the end. Him not wanting Zach, of course, to suffer for his mistake. Worrying about his client while faced with this horrible consequence of submitting that evidence. But next time we're going to see where we can go from here. The mystery of 7 years ago has been revealed, or at least the circumstances of 7 years ago have been revealed. We are still in the middle of the trial in the present, and now it's time to pass the torch back and forth a little bit. We're going to see what happens here in the present day next time. Talk to you guys then.